guys, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast, and today we finally complete 2013's Holy Trinity of hypercars by reviewing the Porsche 918. Now this is the closed-top version, so I'm not going to call it the Spider, but as you can see by the livery, it's got the Weissach package, which was an $84,000 option on the real car to make it lighter, which included things like swapping the windshield frame, the targa top, and the rear wing from metal into carbon fiber. And even the side view mirrors were made out of carbon fiber, although here on the Bburago, they are black rubber. And speaking of mirrors, the reflectors are actually really good quality. You can actually see the number 3 reflected in the mirrors. So yeah, that's really good for this 124 Bburago. Now, funny story about this car, because back in the day when I bought this model, I had the choice between this or the Welly 918 RSR in 124, which looked really awesome and had more details. But I chose this because the 918 RSR was a concept car, and back then I had told myself to only collect production cars, and that Welly 124 Porsche 918 RSR has become ridiculously rare, while you can still find this Bburago today. Yeah. Also, there's a 118 version of the Weissach, but nobody made a 118 RSR, so I'm happy for those who have the Welly 918 RSR. I still love this livery over the standard grey 918 Spider though, which Bburago and Welly had both released in 124. Obviously, the Welly 918 is the superior mold in terms of better looking headlights and brake discs and calipers, etc. But Welly didn't make the Weissach in 124, while Bburago did. And that's why I have it here. Now this was years before you could find the 118 AliExpress version of the 918 Weissach, and were I to buy the car today, I definitely recommend you get the 118 AliExpress version instead of this, because it has more features, including a deployable rear spoiler and opening front trunk, while being cheaper than the Welly 118, which in turn is cheaper than the Minichamps 118. But let's see what this model has to offer, because while at first glance it looks cheap, it's got some nice details in certain areas you may not expect it to have. Now the Weissach package was offered in 2 different liveries. One was the Martini livery, which Bburago did not make a 124 version of, and the other being this one, called the Salzburg Racing Design, which I believe is from 2014, although the 918 was made from 2013 to 2015. And yeah, it's been 10 years, but the 918 didn't really get a successor now, did it? I mean, there was another concept called the Porsche Mission X, which was an EV debuted in 2023, but the LaFerrari was succeeded by the abomination that is the F80, and the McLaren P1 was succeeded by the McLaren W1, although there is no model of that yet. So, after all these years, the Holy Trinity of 2013 still remains relevant, in a way. And the thing I like about this model is that Bburago actually did a really good job on the carbon fiber detailing. I mean, this is one step above the typical Bburago Maisto carbon fiber, even the one found on their 118s. I dare say this is the prettiest carbon fiber I have ever seen on a 124 model. Especially on the spoiler, you can see the glossy shine of the carbon fiber really well. Great stuff. The paint job is also really good. You don't have any of that orange peel you get on some cheap Motormax models like on the McLaren MP412C that I have reviewed in the past. So taking a look at the front of the 124 scale Porsche 918 Weissach by Bburago, you can see that the front is probably not the real strong suit of the car, especially when it comes to the headlights, because they're kind of sunk in a little bit and don't have a lot of detail. And the headlight housing is also a bit too circular. Because as you know, on the real 918, it's shaped like a square with an LED in each corner, and Welly definitely has done a better job in that regard compared to Bburago. However, otherwise the front does look good, especially in this livery. We've got the Porsche logo in the middle, and above it, the number 3. Now, this car didn't come with any license plate, so it's got my custom plates on it, and flanking it on each side are 2 air vents. Now, if you pay attention, you can see that it also has carbon fiber on the front lip, which is a nice little attention to detail. And taking a look at the side of the Porsche 918 Weissach, you can see that we have the number 3 written on the door here as well, and those red stripes kind of elegantly go past the front wheel and along the side of the car. Now, we do have a little air vent up here, and underneath it says E-Hybrid. The wheels really do have some nice looking rims. These are different to the rims that the Bburago and Welly versions of the standard road-going grey version of this model car were released in. So I actually like these rims more. And now if we take a closer look at the wheels, you can see that there is some things that I'm not really happy with here. For starters, the wheels unfortunately do not come with any centerlocks on this model, which would usually be bearing the Porsche crest, and they're trim color-coded like on this car's predecessor, the Carrera GT. Instead, they only have pins in the center around which the wheel rotates. This model does have brake discs and calipers, but as you can see, they are way too far back and should be a lot closer. Now, this back portion of the car is supposed to have like a gap for the air to go through, and unfortunately Bburago's mold does not reflect that properly, in that it is just flat. But yeah, taking a look at the gas cap, you can see that Bburago put some extra detail here, because on one side it says fuel, and on the other side it says e-power. Fun fact, the batteries also charge by regenerative braking. You know, you often find yourself dismissing 124 Bburagos for lack of detail compared to Welly 124s, but then they go ahead and put small details like this on their model where you least expect it. Speaking of, the 918 has probably the coolest exhausts in the supercar world because they are located up here. And I think Bburago did a fantastic job in making them look realistic. They are chrome and they have nice depth to them, so the interior is painted black, which is really good. And the surrounding area is also done nicely. And taking a look at the back of the 124 scale Porsche 918 Spider Weissach package by Bburago, you can see that the back is probably the highlight of this model because Bburago put a lot of attention to detail here. For instance, we have Porsche written underneath the rear spoiler and 918 Spider in green, just like on the real car. And regarding the taillights, they're done decently, I'd say. They lack the strakes that the real 918's taillights have, but I suppose on 124 you don't really bother with such things. Underneath, we have 2 air vents, and embedded into them are 2 indicators. And we, of course, didn't have any rear license plate, so again, I put mine. And underneath, we have a 3rd brake light, and underneath that is probably the car's backup camera. You cannot open the engine bay cover on this model. What's actually funny is that this is, for once, not a limitation of the 124 scale, because even on the bigger 118 scale Porsche 918 models, you cannot do that. Not on the Welly, not on the Mini Champs, or even on the AutoArt. And in fact, AutoArt has also made the 918 in 1/12th scale for like $500, and even there you can't, or at least you aren't supposed to, because Porsche doesn't allow anyone except their own maintenance technicians to mess with the engine. And the engine of the Porsche 918 looks something like this. So it isn't a very pretty sight. But it's a 4.6 liter V8, producing 875 horsepower. It has a top speed of 352 kph, and it accelerates from 0 to 100 kph in 2.5 seconds. Now, the actual engine only does 599 horsepower, but it is supported by 2 electric motors, one for the rear axle and the other powering the front wheels, which give it an extra 282 horsepower boost. The roof sadly can't be opened because you can see the soldered joints from underneath. I mean, I suppose if you broke them you could, but there's a chance you'll break or scratch something else, like the windshield when attempting it, so I really wouldn't recommend you do it. And now let's take a look at the interior of the car. Now, the door panels are, well, if I can focus this, they are pretty basic. They only have like a little bit of silver for the door handle. And regarding the dashboard, you can see that it has a nice carbon fiber texture on it. And there's also like a air vent here. But what I really like is that they've replicated the Porsche 918's slanted center stack really nicely. All the buttons are painted in silver, although they're not labeled. And you've got that gap underneath the center stack. Here's another look at the door panel. See, it's even got some carbon fiber on it, which is nice. And some switches at the bottom. As for the seats, we get seatbelt buckles that are painted in red. The seats have a complex form, and the seats have the 918 Spider branding on them, and the headrests not only have Porsche emblems on them, but they are also slightly raised, which is the sort of detail you would not expect on a 124 Bburago. And taking a look at the driver's side of the Porsche 918 Weissach, you can see that the center stack also looks good from this angle. And regarding the steering wheel, I painted the spokes of the steering wheel in silver, because that's what it's supposed to look like. But Bburago did provide us with a Porsche emblem in the middle. Maybe you can see it better when I turn on the flash. There you go. Behind it, the 918's triple gauge instrument binnacle has been modeled, and you can also see the stickered gauges and floor pedals. We also have some extra detailing on the dashboard. And taking a look at the bottom of the car, there's really not much to see here. You can see that it says Bburago Porsche 918 Spider 124 made in China. And then we've got the model number, which is 11,604. Nice detail for the rear diffusers here. It's got like 2 channels as well. The exhaust system, as I mentioned earlier, is on the back of the car. So yeah, pretty cool. So I hope you guys liked my review of the 124 scale Porsche 918 Weissach by Bburago. The mold doesn't have the same detail level as the welly one, but I really like the livery, and the carbon fiber detail is also quite impressive for a Bburago. I also like the interior. So yeah, the only thing that really could have helped out this model is better looking headlights and center locks, but other than that, it is a nice budget option. Take care, have a wonderful day. This is Imperial Diecast, signing out.